Story 1. Original post. Am I the a-hole here for being mad at my husband for saying he would pick his deceased wife over me? My 34 female husband, 37 male, was married once before me. She was his high school sweetheart. They started dating their junior year, survived long distance during college, and got married when they were both 23, very shortly after graduating college. She passed away unexpectedly at age 26 from an aneurysm, and it obviously devastated him, especially because they were extremely young. They never had children. He contemplated remarrying because he was so heartbroken, but we ended up meeting about 4 years after that. We got married when I was 31 and he was 34 and have 2 children. Last night, we were at a friend potluck gathering. Everything was going well until one of our friends brought up a new topic that had to do with relationships. She is newly divorced, so it was about her divorce. Others were chiming in with past relationships from high school, college, etc. I had said I never thought I would get married because my luck with men has always been terrible until I met my husband, and I said I felt very lucky to have met him. After a little while longer, my husband brings up his deceased wife. Everyone knows he was married before me and that she passed. He was talking about her, and then drops a bomb and goes, "If she walked through that front door right now, I'd pick up where we left off." If I am being honest, it felt like someone put my heart into a blender and punched me in the gut as hard as they could. Everyone in the room could sense the awkwardness that followed. To avoid making a scene, I just laughed it off, even though I think it was still obvious that it hurt me. I just felt that if you still felt that way, then why are we married? I've never asked him to get over his wife. I have never had a deceased spouse or even a deceased partner, so I am unsure how that feels. But I would never say that in front of my new spouse. After the gathering, we left and I did not speak to him the entire car ride home, or barely the entire night. I did tell him that what he said hurt my feelings deeply, and that we could talk in the morning once I've calmed down because I didn't want to say something mean to him. I ended up sleeping on the couch because he would not leave me alone. It's now the next morning and I barely slept. He is still sleeping. I'm not really sure what to say or what he will say. Now for the comments. Not sure if anyone will see this, but I have to get my day started. My husband is awake and we spoke for about 2 minutes. We will be speaking after I drop our son off at daycare and after he has this Zoom meeting. Please wish me luck. Oof, that would gut anyone. He should have kept that thought unspoken forever. Just reading this felt like a gut punch. Poor OP. And in front of people too. Not the a-hole. That's a very hurtful thing to hear from your partner. Hearing it while with a group on your friends would be understandably brutal. Very disrespectful to you. Thank you. And disrespectful to your children together too. Like they wouldn't even be a thought to him. He'd just leave you instantly, and by proxy break up the family and devastate his children. Very understandable to be heartbroken over this. The first thing to know is that there's a difference between a widower and a divorced man. The widower lost a person he was in love with, and after years, the image of the lost one shines more than the reality. But not the a-hole in this case, because we can love several persons. Like I love my husband, but I also love my children. He still loves the image of his deceased wife, but he loves you. The problem here, he said in front of your friends that he would leave with her if she appears. After all these years, it was not the moment, not the place, and it was disrespectful to make it public. You have the right to feel angry. Yes, like I said, I would never ask him to get over her or forget her. She died. Realistically, if she hadn't, they could still be together with a family. But I would have kept that thought to myself. Not the a-hole? He says that right after you said you had bad luck with men and were lucky to have found him. What the ever-loving frick-frack? Does he just not care about your feelings? That's such an incredibly cruel and heartless thing to say, grief or no grief. I get that he lost his wife, but good Lord. Yeah, I felt like an idiot after that. I'd be like, never mind what I just said. I obviously still have bad luck with men. Missed opportunity. Here's the thing. You can't compete with a dead person. Over the years, she and their relationship was most likely hyper-idealized. He isn't probably even remembering her for who she was, but the potential of what never was, without even considering the personality changes one goes through in life. And toss in how he probably also looks back wistfully at this young years and may have tied it all to her. So like he's mourning her, but also his youth all wrapped in one. By saying he would choose her if she walked through the door without thought to you and the kids, he's very clearly sending a message that you're not as important, even if that's not what he means necessarily. And yes, it is hurtful to be told you're pretty much second place. It hurts when you love someone to hear them say they would not have picked you if they had a choice. And that's what he did. And he needs to understand how effed up that is, and try to find a way to apologize to you that won't feel half-hearted. Not the a-hole. You're entitled to be mad and to be hurt, and hopefully he will take steps to fix his unresolved issues and make it up to you, or he might end up alone again. I also didn't think about the romanticizing what could have been. That does make a lot of sense. Counseling could help. Update. This may be a long one. I also tried to reply to as many comments as I could, but they were flooding in and I got a bit overwhelmed. May still try to read and reply to them. Many brought me to joyous and grateful tears. Also, alcohol was not involved in the sense that he wasn't drunk. My husband is 6'3" and almost 250 lubs. He had eaten quite a bit and had one beer. He was practically sober. Anyway, we talked. I asked him to let me go first and to not interrupt. He doesn't usually interrupt anyway. This isn't verbatim, just a rough sketch of how things went. I also included points some of you made. Without mentioning I posted about this, of course. Me. I just want to say that I do not hate you for what you said. I understand where you were coming from. She died, and it was something neither of you saw coming. I could never ask you to get over her or to forget her, because I know how much you loved her. She was your first love. I do understand that if she hadn't passed, we likely would not be together, and you two likely would be. I have always understood this. But to say what you said hurt my feelings and embarrassed me. And even though her coming back from the dead is impossible, if it were, you would leave me and the children? It was probably one of the worst things anyone has ever said to me. It is clear your feelings about her are still raw, and it still hurts, and I want you to get counseling, and I want couples counseling very, very soon. He then apologized profusely, teared up, and said how he did not mean to hurt me and embarrass me in front of our friends. He basically said that he thought about it before he went to sleep, and came to the realization that he should have kept it to himself. I mean, I can't be angry for what he thinks. He loved her, and she died. His feelings are also valid here. Also said that he would never leave me and the children, and that what he said was just a poorly thought out and poorly worded statement. That he was not thinking clearly, and when he said it, he immediately felt that maybe it came out wrong. I asked him how he would feel if I said that to him. He says, "Yeah, it's bad. I know. I shouldn't have said it. I wouldn't be happy. I know you aren't happy. I should have apologized in front of everyone as soon as I said it, or not have said it at all." I then asked him to think of the children and said, "It's like you saying, 'Hey, children's names, if my dead wife walked through the door, I'd pack my bags and never speak to you guys again.'" And then it really got uncomfy. After some silence, I had no idea what to say after that. He asked me if I wanted to divorce. So I asked him why he would think I would want a divorce just to see what he would say. He says he doesn't know. I didn't answer his question and said we needed to look into counseling, that he needed to get counseling for himself, and that we would go to couples counseling. And if the answer is no, I am not interested in moving forward. This isn't 100% about the comment anymore. I need to know if he is willing to make the necessary changes and put in the work to fix what he messed up. Because if he were to dismiss my feelings or not want counseling, it means he doesn't think this was that serious and that he may not take me seriously. I also said this to him. Some of the comments also told me to take the kids elsewhere. I agreed with this because it would be difficult to get through this while also parenting. I've got a very young daughter and a son that is a toddler. They are currently with my parents for the weekend, and I'll be getting them Sunday night, so this gives us time to really work. He suggested he sleep on the couch instead of me. I have nowhere else to go. I haven't told my parents because I really would like to keep this between me and him as much as possible. Family and friends jump to judge too fast and sometimes offer extreme and harmful advice, and it's also embarrassing. Luckily, we both have very good insurance that will help with counseling. I told him that it seems like whatever counseling he got after her death was not enough, and that he was not consistent with it like he should have been. With trauma like that, I personally would have been in counseling for years before I even considered remarrying. He agreed. He was only in it for about a year, and then stopped once he moved away from his hometown. Never got back into it. He also agreed to the individual and couples counseling, kept apologizing, kept telling me he loved me all day. It was also so difficult to be around him because he kept looking at me. I couldn't think. It was like he would try to say something, and then he would just stare and not say anything. With the kids gone, there's nothing to really do except talk. So we talked again right before dinner time. He asked me if I wanted him to cook or buy something. I still was not hungry, to be honest. So I just told him he could pick something up for himself, and that I wasn't hungry, and that prompted the second discussion. Realized he must feel very bad, because he noticed I hadn't really eaten much all day. Kept asking me to eat. I wasn't sulking too bad or anything, just doing my usual tasks, but not speaking or eating as much, and because we're home together all day, he noticed this. Asked me one more time to please eat dinner with him, so I agreed. During dinner, he told me that he looked for counselors himself and wanted me to see if I thought they were okay enough and that he would keep looking. Last stretch. After all of that, I told him that we can't really predict anything until we've met with therapists. I don't want him to keep saying sorry. I want work and change. And then maybe we can move forward. But this is the first step. I don't want to just leave him. I am also not saying divorce is off of the table. I think he is still hurting from her death, and his judgment is very, very clouded. If he didn't love me, I doubt he would have apologized so many times and looked for counselors on his own. A man that doesn't love me probably would have made me look or rejected going altogether. Many people were suggesting this. I do not think he doesn't love me. Thought of this myself. Cried about it. Thought of my children. Cried more. I'm not staying for the kids. I'm staying because I want to at least try to fix. If it cannot be fixed, then at least I tried. We were also very close. Some people were asking how close we were prior to marriage, I guess, as a way to gauge the difference between their relationship and our relationship. Maybe to see if he settled. He was always very romantic, caring, and sweet to me. We've never yelled at each other. When we first started dating, he would plan dates, surprise me, brag about me to his friends. So that's why I am very confused on why he would blurt that, unless it was just very poor brain and mouth coordination. I also told him that I may get a counselor for myself. I don't think I need one. Someone suggested this, but I think he needs it more than I do. And because insurance companies are getting crappier by the year, 3 counseling bills may be pushing it? I don't know. If I do get one, it's because I don't want to potentially resent him or doubt myself. Some people were making attempts to make me doubt myself. Some people in the comments were very nasty to me. I appreciate Reddit hiding comments with many downvotes as they may be mean, but I couldn't help but click. Some of you are very mean and very nasty individuals, and I hope you find happiness one day. There could be another update in the future. Not opposed to making one. Thank you all for your kind words and support. I've also responded to everyone that texted me, which was everyone there at the potluck that has my number. 3 people. There were 9 people there, not including us. They've all basically said the same thing. They can't believe he said that. They feel bad for me, asking if everything is okay, what he said was not okay, etc. He showed me some of the texts with him and his friends, and some made me cry with how kind they were being towards me. Basically, telling him he wasn't necessarily wrong for thinking that, but wrong for saying it. I told him I loved him as well, and I have never not loved him even for a second, and that I wasn't angry with him and didn't want him to, I guess, suffer for what he said. But I was just hurt, and needed him to know that it did hurt me and him to respond how he saw fit, and we'd go from there. That is all for now. I could possibly answer more questions here, if you have any. I tried to answer some of the more frequently asked ones that I saw. Again, sorry for this being so lengthy. Have a nice weekend, everyone, and thank you again. Now for the comments. I really think you need to invest in therapy as well. OP. Speaking for myself, this would make me insecure. Therapy is why I'm still married 21 years later. But you need to find the right therapist. Shop around, pay out of pocket if needed. But if you find the right one who knows how to get you to listen, as well as say what you feel out loud to start a real conversation with your partner, things can change for the best. Honestly, it only took about a month and we were reconnected in ways that have expanded our relationship. I'm glad to know you were able to, at least for the moment, work things out. Voicing your feelings is already a huge step. I'm glad to know he's willing to work on your terms to save your family. I'm sure he's struggling a lot with the loss, and listening to you admitting you loved him might have triggered something in him. Glad to know you guys are on the road to heal both individually and separately. Your family therapist may want to do an individual session with each of you at some point, so that may help you decide if you want to pursue your own sessions for your own mental health. I think you're taking a measured path that will hopefully get you to a better place. I didn't think of this. Hopefully that happens. Thank you. Good update. Hoping for the best for your relationship. The reason he'd go down that train of thought is probably the fact that he has an idealized version of his first wife that is hard to tarnish after death. Have you asked him to apologize or talk to his friends about his comment? He already did. I know what he said hurts, and I agree with everything you said. But I don't doubt for a minute he doesn't love you. I think he loves you very much, and realized how much he hurt you when he thought about it for a second, and his words were just careless words with the thought behind them. Please, please give him the chance. Speaking as a husband and father who is socially awkward and extremely poor with wording, I can attest that my wife is a saint. I think if he didn't love you, he wouldn't be so willing right off the bat. But I think counseling for the two of you and individually would be great. But at the same time, I don't think divorce is the answer, particularly because there's love there. Praying for you both. Story 2. Am I the a-hole here for not wanting to take my dead brother's kids? This situation is so crappy, and I really need advice. Me, 31, male, live on my own in the city. My brother, 34, a male, and I have always had a strained relationship. A little background is that my brother is basically a diagnosed narcissist, and growing up with him was extremely difficult. He had it out for me since I was born, and would bully me at any chance he gets. We went to a K-12 private school, and he would try and make my life a living hell for the entire time I went there. For example, when I was playing soccer, he would show up to my games and literally pants me in front of everyone. He would fart on my pillow, spread terrible rumors about me, and make sure that absolutely no one wanted to associate with me. It got so bad that in my sophomore year, my parents had to switch me from the school that my family had been attending for generations to a different school 2 towns away. Once he went to college, I went absolutely no contact with him, except for mandatory holidays and family gatherings, which up until now he would still go out of his way to humiliate me any chance he got. He would say that I was a worthless man for not having children, and that I would contribute nothing to society, and that my entire existence is unnecessary. Flash forward to present day, my brother was married with 2 daughters who are 6 and 3. Last week, him and his wife got into a fatal car accident that tragically took both of their lives. Obviously, this is a devastating situation, and I feel terrible that it happened, but my brother and I had a terrible relationship, and based on how often I saw him, he was more like a stranger than family. The funeral is set to happen this weekend, and me and my girlfriend will attend. The problem is that my mom just called me telling me the most shocking and confusing news I have ever received. My brother and his wife had named me their kid's godfather and wanted me to be their legal guardian if anything were to ever happen to them. I was never made aware of this or agreed at all, and I do not want the kids. Me and my girlfriend just moved into an apartment together and have discussed our mutual agreement for not wanting kids. We are just settling into moving in with each other and are not comfortable taking the kids. I want to make this clear to my parents, but they are very upset, and I'm not sure how I should go about this. I am facing a lot of pressure from my other relatives to take the kids, but it's non-negotiable for me. How do I tell them, and am I the a-hole for not wanting to take my dead brother's kids? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. You make it sound as if you never wanted kid. Either it be your brother's or your own, and that's perfectly fine. Tell your parents that the girls will be happier with a family that wants them, and godfather is just a title, especially if it hasn't been discussed beforehand, then it don't mean squat. This plus, I'm sure OP is basically a stranger to his nieces. It'd be better if they were with someone they knew. Not the a-hole. Are you sure your brother actually named you as their kid's godfather? Or are your parents trying to conveniently get you to take them so they don't have to? I'd ask them for evidence of this. Was there a will or document that stated this that they can provide? I find it highly unlikely that your brother actually said or did this based off of how he treated you. There is just no way. Don't make it about the crappiness of your brother. As discussed below, it will not work in your favor. Make it solely about 1. You do not want to have children. 2. Your brother never discussed this with you. He never asked you to be the backup. You never agreed to it. And if he had discussed it, you never would have agreed. 3. You don't know the children. 4. You don't have suitable housing. It's unfortunate that he never discussed it with me because I would never have agreed. It's also really weird that he never discussed it with me. But I'm never having kids, and my living situation is completely unsuitable. I'm not available to take them even temporarily, so you need to think of other solutions. Just keep saying that, and don't back down. Your brother was obviously a piece of crap, but that's actually largely irrelevant to what's going on, and if you mention it, people will say you're taking out your dislike of your brother on his children. So don't mention it because it will only be used against you. Don't agree to take the children even temporarily, not just for a night. The minute the kids are put in your hands, people will seek to avoid removing them. Not the a-hole. You are not required to take the children. It is merely a suggestion that is easily settled when it comes to courts and such. Since you are not close to the children and do not want them, it would be better for them to go to a known family member or friend. There is no failure in choosing not to be a legal guardian. You need to do what is best for you and ultimately the children, as they will be significantly impacted if placed where they are not truly wanted. Yes, they will pick up on it. So sorry for you and the children's loss. Thank you for listening. If you like the video, consider like and subscribe. If you want more stories like these, turn on your notification to receive the latest stories.